Hey, good morning, everybody. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am your friend and retired buddy, Brian Wilson, calling in from bucolic Watertown on short notice as Chris is a little under the weather today. But don't worry, he's young, he's strong. He's powerful. He'll be over it in short order. I'm scrambling today to catch up. But honestly, I don't think I'm going to have any trouble finding something to talk about because it seems lately, as I wander around stately Wilson Manor here in bucolic Watertown, I sit around and think like, man, I wish I had a show today because I got things I'd like to say about that. So out of the blue, here comes the show that I've got today. So let me get some stuff off my chest. First of all, I am shocked, stunned, and amazed at the way the Democrats continue to operate. It's bizarre the way they continue to operate. They're going after, they can't go after Trump because Trump is pretty popular right now. So they're going after Elon Musk. Well, Elon's rooting around in your personal stuff. Elon Musk has access to all this delicate information. That's really not where, that's really not true, first of all. From Newsmax, Musk is not a Doge employee and has no authority to make decisions. Listen to this. Billionaire Elon Musk's role in the Trump administration is as a White House employee and senior advisor to the president and not an employee of the Department of Government Efficiency and has no decision-making authority, the White House said in a court filing on Monday. According to a filing signed by Joshua Fisher, director of the Office of Administration at the White House, Musk can only advise the president and communicate the president's directives. Like other senior White House advisors, Mr. Musk has no actual or formal authority to make a government decision on his own. Fisher's filing, made in a case brought against Musk by the state of New Mexico, said that Musk was not an employee of the Doge service or the Doge service temporary organization. Mr. Musk is not the U.S. Doge service administrator. Doge has swept through federal agencies since Donald Trump began his second term as president last month and put Musk, the chief executive of carmaker Tesla, in charge of rooting out wasteful government spending as part of a dramatic overhaul of government that included thousands of jobs. So he has his authority. What is being said here is that Musk himself doesn't have any real authority to go rooting through your stuff, but he has the ability to act and direct a staff of people who do have that authority, because his authority comes from the President of the United States. The President of the United States, last time I checked, was in charge of the executive branch. And if he orders certain things done within the executive branch, and he just happens to take the advice of Elon Musk, and Elon Musk goes and turns over and says to the staff over at Doge, okay, I talked to the president, here's where we want to go with all this, get after it. He's well within his rights to do that. There's nothing strange or unusual about that. And boy, are they having some luck. Well, I guess it's sort of like finding waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. Apparently it's like shooting fish in a barrel. If it just takes somebody willing to go out there and shoot. Doge says, according to the Epoch Times, Doge says $4.7 trillion in Treasury payments are missing identification codes. Now, what does that mean? The Department of Government Efficiency said on February 17th that a total of $4.7 trillion worth of payments from the Treasury Department are almost impossible to trace because of missing account identification codes. They can't trace $4.7 trillion of your hard-earned taxpayer dollars. Doge says the Treasury Department has assigned identification codes called Treasury Access Symbols, designed to note which account a Treasury payment is linked to, which Doge said was a standard financial process for bookkeeping. However, the codes were not assigned for trillions of dollars worth of payments, as the field was considered optional according to the agency. In the federal government, the TSA field was optional for $4.7 trillion in payments and was often left blank, making traceability almost impossible. As of Saturday, this is now a required field, increasing insight to where the money is actually going, thanks to the Treasury Department for great work. According to the Bureau of Fiscal Services, task codes are identification codes kept by the Treasury to an individual appropriation receipt or other fund account. And they don't have numbers that allow them to track $4.7 trillion. How in the world can Democrats be against trying to clean up something like this? Why is it that they're losing their minds? Well, I'll tell you that in a little bit. I know why they're losing their minds. They're losing their minds because the secret is out. We're finding out all the things that they've been doing, and they're squirming. They don't like it, and they know the American people are not going to like it. Again, from the Epoch Times, Doge says cost-cutting efforts have saved an estimated $55 billion so far. The Department of Government Efficiency, led by SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, said its cost-cutting efforts across several federal agencies have saved an estimated $55 billion with a B dollars since February 15th. The savings came from a combination, as of February 15th, rather. The savings came from a combination of fraud deletion, contract and lease cancellation, renegotiations, asset sales, grant cancellations, workforce reductions, programmatic changes, and regulatory saving implemented across federal agencies, according to Doge's website. The top 10 agencies. We should do this like an old David Letterman list. The top 10 agencies with the highest total contract savings include the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, the Department of Education, the Office of Personnel Management, where they manage people. It's like your big HAR department, the Department of Health and Human Services, and the Department of Agriculture. Doge has canceled more than 200 contracts issued by USAID, the agency responsible for administering U.S. foreign aid and development assistance, according to the data. It includes a lot of cancellations related to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives across several agencies. Amid the contracts canceled was a $45 million DEI scholarship program issued by USAID in Myanmar, which is also known as Burma, and a $36 million DEI training contract for leadership and supervisors in the Department of Homeland Security, and $130,000 for DEI training at the Department of Defense. They've also canceled subscriptions to Political Pro, Washington Post, Bloomberg Government, the Wall Street Journal, all canceled. We are working to upload all of this data in a digestible and fully transparent manner with clear assumptions consistent with applicable rules and regulations. I love this so much. A lot of people have talked about trying to get in there and do something about, government waste, fraud, and abuse, spending money, and we don't know where it's going, or sending money, like willy-nilly, like drunken sailors, which, of course, drunken sailors are actually spending their own money. The government spends yours. $4.7 trillion that are missing identification codes from the Treasury Department. The Trump administration has fired thousands of government workers. The Trump administration fired thousands of workers across several government agencies after the deadline for employees to accept a buyout has passed. The EPA was among the agencies to confirm it had fired workers to comply with directives from President Donald Trump. EPA has terminated 388 probationary employees after a thorough review of agency functions in accordance with President Trump's executive orders. Some 1,165 employees at the National Institutes of Health and part of the Department of Health and Human Services have been fired, according to an internal email. Several hundred probationary status workers have been fired at the FAA, according to the Union of Professional Safety Aviation Specialists. The FAA has not responded to a request. I mean, they are getting in there and they're rooting it out and they're saying, look, we've got to get this under control. The American people love this. 80% of Americans are all on board. They believe the government spends too much money. They believe the government is wasting your hard-earned tax dollars. They know that it's out there, and everybody promises, oh, we're going to do something about it. Donald Trump, with help and advice from Elon Musk and his team of Doge operatives, are actually doing it. Well, I can't say that on the radio. Actually doing it, trying to get that done. And the Democrats are somehow thinking that talking about how this is a bad thing is going to win. It's a winning take for them. They need to sit down and just have a conversation. I mean, how in the world do they think that their proposal is one that's a winning position with the vast majority of American people? I don't think they do. I think what happens here is I think that the Democrats take a look at all of the blowback they're getting. I mean, after all, the gravy train has ended. The government under Donald Trump and Elon Musk's advice, they're going through and they're cleaning out some of this stuff that the Democrats have been pulling for years and years and years. How is it that it doesn't seem like apparently it was all that hard for them to find trillions and trillions of dollars of waste, already $55 billion. They're pointing out where there is waste, fraud, and abuse all over the place. We may never find out where some of this money went. But that is a winning position. We are winning. We are doing what we imagine that. Got a president of the United States who gets elected and gets into office and actually does the things that he promised to do. Americans like that. And Americans are very much in favor of all of this Doge, examination. But that's all the Democrats have right now. I mean, they believe that that they need to make Elon Musk the bad guy here. Got to have a bad guy. Got to have a bad guy. So I guess we're gonna choose Elon Musk as that bad guy. I don't know. I'll tell you something that I think about Elon Musk. I think we have in Elon Musk a once in a generation intellect. This is somebody on the level of an Einstein or a Tesla. Or a Henry Ford. This is a man, Thomas Edison. That's the level of intellect, once in a generation intellect that we're looking at. And that he has decided that he wants to take all of his effort and put it into trying to fix the government to make it more efficient. What a debt of gratitude we owe him. And how is that something that the Democrats think is a winning argument for them, that they're going to be against calling out the fraud, waste, and abuse in our government? It's exciting. One of the next things they're going to be doing, you ready for this one? Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency could soon audit the U.S. government's gold reserves. Yeah, that's right, Fort Knox. Musk on Saturday wrote a post on X questioning whether U.S. gold reserves are reviewed each year, to which Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky replied, nope, let's do it. Who is confirming that gold wasn't stolen from Fort Knox? Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. The gold is owned by the American public. We want to know if it's still there. Oh, we're going to get down to it, aren't we? We're going to get right down to it. I'm Brian Wilson filling in for the ailing Chris Hand. It's 20 minutes past the hour.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Well, the timing of this approaching winter storm and what to expect after it's all out of here, those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, actually, I wanted to talk about that if I could for just a moment, Joan. How are you?
If you must.
Well, I always hate to mess up somebody's lead in their newscast, but I mean, it really is the thing people are worried about right now. So we're talking about winter weather advisory coming in, and maybe, I don't know, a lot of snow.
Could be. We're still quite a few hours away. You know how things change.
Yeah, I think it could be one of those things. They're saying that if you're north of I-40 or up around the Kentucky-Tennessee border, 4 to 6, and as you get down to about I-40, they're talking about 1 to 2 inches of snow.
Right.
Yeah, and then if you get down toward the Tennessee border with Alabama, maybe an inch. So it's time to, when in trouble or in doubt, run in circles, scream and shout, go to the grocery store, buy up all the milk and the bread and the toilet paper.
Just don't touch the eggs because they're too expensive.
Yeah. Everything good with you? I haven't talked to you in a while. Everything
I know.
all right?
Yeah, everything's great. It's good to hear your voice.
Well, it's good. Retirement is interesting. I every day it seems I've been really, really, really busy with this, that, or the other, all associated with things you need to accomplish as you retire. And, my day has been filled with a bunch of administrivia. But there was a day last week where I sort of turned around and I looked and said, I don't have a thing to do today.
Oh, I have something for you to do.
Well,
I need some repairs.
You never say that in front of your wife.
That's right.
For sure. To say, well, I got some things for you. Here's my list.
You betcha.
But, we've been supervising a little kitchen renovation.
Nice.
Yeah, and so, there's a lot of chaos. Our kitchen basically has been moved into our living room. And so but the kitchen's been completely torn up, and we're in the middle of all that right now.
Wow.
And I want to ask you, how does my voice sound today?
You sound great.
This microphone sounds
scratchy?
really good.
You feel scratchy?
No, I feel fine, but it's the microphone. The microphone sounds good.
Yeah, sounds great.
You know what microphone this is? Mm-mm. If you're watching on Super Talk TV, it's a microphone that was designed and built in the 40s. It's an old RCA ribbon microphone. And I put it in here yesterday, and I just love the way it sounds.
Sometimes the older stuff is the better stuff.
Well, I was just talking, I was talking to Mason about that during the break. There are some things they got right a long time ago.
Yes.
I mean, I think we can all agree that Les Paul got the Les Paul right, and
absolutely, and
Leo Fender got the Telecaster right. I'm not so big on the Stratocaster, but I am big on the Telecaster. And this microphone was built by RCA back in the 40s, and it's called an RCA 77DX. Anybody cares? But it's an old ribbon microphone, and they just had this really lovely, warm sound, still used in recording studios around the world today. They get them rebuilt and keep right on going.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah. Well, I just decided I'd stick it in and see what it sounded like, and so far I think I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it too. All right, well, you know what happens next. I'll be here all the way till 10 o'clock filling in for Chris Hand. Joan Jones is up now with the news at 9:30 on Super Talk.
Well, good morning. Yeah, 9:30 now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The snow should begin falling sometime after supper time. I've been reminded that it's not dinner, it's supper time tonight, with the mid-state getting between 3 to 4 inches of snow, all the way down to 1 inch in some areas before it's all over tomorrow morning. TDOT also telling Channel 4 they've got a plan for this snowstorm.
We will be ready when the snow falls. They're going to be plowing roads as soon as we have enough snow to plow. We will also be salting as soon as there is any kind of trouble spots as we see it.
Well, you may have already seen it, the brine on the roads, but TDOT says they plan to have the main roads fully brined by lunchtime today. And then when the snow begins to fall, crews will work 12-hour shifts until the roads are all cleared. Now, we'll talk more about what's to come after the snow, too, because we've got a serious blast of cold weather behind it. So it's likely this snow is going to stick around for a while. A number of roads in Clarksville still being impacted by floodwaters. So use caution as you travel there this morning. Add to it, a portion of the roadway at Cooper Creek and Blooming Grove Road has collapsed. The northbound lanes there have been swept away. Police are saying pay attention to the traffic cones in the area, directing traffic away from that collapse. Also, several people had to be rescued from floodwaters that are still impacting Cross Plains Road in Robertson County, where neighbors there say flooding's really not all that unusual.
Most people that's lived here for a length of time know that it gathers water and it gathers snow. You know, they're aware of it, but people do not, or be right in it and then can't get out. That water's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, that man tells Channel 4 that there are sinkholes on either side of the roadway, and they'll fill up and overflow in heavy rains, and that's what has happened after the weekend. Well, that is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
It is 36 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. Brian Wilson filling in for Chris Han all the way till noon today. So, hang on, everybody. We got a lot of ground to cover, things going on in the world. Been watching these pictures out of Toronto of people who escaped that Delta jet that flipped over on its back while landing, and they had I had their wits about them pretty well because they were able to grab their phone and get pictures of them actually leaving the aircraft, standing out there on the icy tarmac. I'm not sure that I would have the presence of mind to grab my phone and start taking pictures. My first instinct would be get away from that aircraft as far as you can in very quick order. But there's all these great pictures that are coming out of people escaping that thing. I think that as I look at it, I look at the some of the coverage about all this, and it seems as if somehow, and I don't understand this at all, somehow the fact that a plane overturned on a runway in Toronto, it's Donald Trump's fault. I don't have any idea how you make that case, but they are trying to make that case, and that's just unadulterated. Yes, I still have the button, and I'm not afraid to use it. And it's exactly that. He had nothing to do with it. I mean, but this is what the White House has to put up with right now. Caroline Leavitt talking about how, with all the discussion about trying to limit fraud, waste, and abuse, there are news organizations, and the Democrats are fueling this as well. They said, hey, look, you know what? Donald Trump's coming after your Social Security money. This is reprehensible is what it is, because it's simply not true. Caroline Leavitt yesterday talking to Sean Hannity.
And now you see the Democrat Party and the mainstream media spiraling out of control about a very simple promise, rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse from our federal bureaucracy. This is a promise President Trump campaigned on. He is now delivering on it. And I've been fighting fake news reporters all day long here in the Washington, D.C. swamp who are trying to fearmonger the American people into believing that this administration is going after their hard-earned tax dollars and their hard-earned Social Security checks. So I want to set the record straight on your show tonight, Sean, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do so. President Trump has directed Elon Musk and the Doge team to identify fraud at the Social Security Administration. They haven't dug into the books yet, but they suspect that there are tens of millions of deceased people who are receiving fraudulent Social Security payments. And so their goal in going into the Social Security Administration is to identify three things. Number one, to identify duplicate payments and to end them. Number two, to identify payments that are going to deceased people who are no longer living and should no longer be receiving that money. And number three, to protect the integrity of this system for hardworking Americans who have been paying into it their entire lives. So rest assured to all of the people watching your show tonight, if you paid into the system honestly, you will continue to receive your Social Security checks. Do not buy into the lies from the legacy fake news media who are trying to fear you and scare you into believing otherwise. This is what we've seen them do about President Trump for years with every promise that he has made. And he's going in there to protect your hard-earned money. That is the ultimate goal.
Well, I'm so glad that Caroline Leavitt, who, by the way, has become sort of a superstar there at the White House, hasn't she? I mean, she is so young, but so capable of doing this job and keeping people in check in real time. She's phenomenal. I mean, maybe it's not that she's just so good. It's that she follows somebody who was perhaps the worst press secretary known to mankind. She's doing a great job. It's refreshing to see her in the White House pushing back on some of the nonsense that goes on. So, there's a lot of stuff that is happening right now that is sort of a tenseness between the press corps and the Trump administration. Notably, the Trump administration has taken it out on the Associated Press. Now, having covered the White House, the Associated Press is sort of like, well, they're sort of like at the top of the food chain in reporters because, the Associated Press provides coverage to radio stations and newspapers all over the world. And so they always sort of get a specialized, in the past, they've always got sort of specialized treatment. And the Associated Press, usually the wire reporter gets to ask the first question at a briefing, and, that's the way the old tradition was. But the Associated Press has gotten on the wrong side of Donald Trump over something pretty stupid, really. Trump's designation of that body of water that is south of Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, the Gulf of America. Well, they don't want to call it the Gulf of America, and they said we're going to continue to call it the Gulf of Mexico. They put it in their style book. We're going to call it the Gulf of Mexico, not going to call it the Gulf of America. And the style book, by the way, is largely followed by other reporters around the world. They take a look at it, and it's called AP Style. And so, what they're trying to do is, by setting this down, say we're going to call it the Gulf of Mexico, regardless of what the Trump administration says. But then when they did that, the White House said, well, maybe Associated Press doesn't get to go to the Oval Office today. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Now we're learning more, according to redstate.com, via veteran reporter Mark Caputo, about the White House and why it's drawing a line in the sand with the Associated Press on the issue. It has a lot to do with how they're conveniently adjusted their style book over the years to accommodate leftist dogma. That's it. By spotlighting AP, Trump is amplifying Republican and conservative criticism of something known as the AP Style Book. A first reference for most U.S. news organizations, shapes political dialogue by favoring liberal words and phrases concerning gender, immigration, race, and law enforcement. They set a standard that is largely followed by a lot of other journalists. So this isn't just about the Gulf of America. This is about the AP weaponizing language through their style book to push a partisan worldview in contrast with the traditional and deeply held beliefs of many Americans and many people around the world, they say at the White House. That's Mark Caputo. Yeah. If you don't want to call it the Gulf of America, that's fine. But, we have a little problem with your style book and the way that, you seem to set the standard and the tone for everybody else. And we want you to get on board. Will they get on board? I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's on the map. It's on the Google Maps. It's in a lot of other places. But in its infinite wisdom, the Associated Press has deemed, by the power vested in it, which is not any power whatsoever, that they are going to disagree with the White House, and they're going to call it the Gulf of Mexico. Love this story. I have such mixed emotions about Sheryl Crow. I must say that as somebody who has a great love of music, I love Sheryl Crow's music. I think I've enjoyed many of her albums. I think they're well produced. She has an amazing ability to find a hook that you can't ignore. I'm a big fan of Sheryl Crow's music, but I've never been a big fan of her politics, of course. And so I struggle with that. Well, have you heard the latest? She has sold her Tesla. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody get ready. Sheryl Crow is mad and she's sold her Tesla. She sold it. Said, look, my parents always said you are who you hang with, and Tesla is made by Elon Musk, and I don't like Elon Musk anymore, so I'm selling my Tesla, and I'm giving the money to NPR. Well, you're great. Knock yourself out, Sheryl. If you think that's the way to go, knock yourself out, Sheryl Crow. Go ahead and sell that Tesla and give the money to NPR. I actually think this is a wonderful thing because NPR should be supported by people who like NPR. If it's a good product, then there ought to be no problem raising money to keep NPR on the air. They don't need the limited number of taxpayer dollars that go to NPR. Sheryl is setting a great example here. More of you sell your cars and give it to NPR. And then the federal government needs to get out of the NPR and get out of that business for sure. The House of Representatives panel working with Doge recently sent a letter to the heads of NPR and PBS, in case you didn't know this, demanding that they appear to testify on Capitol Hill regarding taking government funding to share what the panel referred to as systemically biased content. You know, as a person who's been in commercial broadcasting since I was 19 years old, I believe in commercial broadcasting, and I know maybe you get a little irritated with ads now and then, but you know what? You get this content, you get this stuff that we provide for you. You don't pay a penny for it, do you? No, it's absolutely free. And yet, we over here at Super Talk 99.7 have to go up against NPR, which doesn't have commercials by and large, and they get a lot of their support from the federal government. You know, we ought not be in the business of supporting news organizations in government. They ought to be private. They ought to be privately run and privately operated, and the government doesn't need to be involved in that at all. So I'm very much in, okay, if you want to have your NPR, if you want to have your PBS, that's all good and fine, but pay for it the way, everybody else has to pay for it. Either go out there and get donations or go out there and start selling spots. One way or the other. Sheryl Crow has set an example for many, many Americans. If you disagree, that's fine. That's just fine. Go ahead and sell your Tesla. Go ahead and complain. But I got to tell you, you're in a small minority of people, maybe 15, 20% of America who holds that position. Because the vast majority of Americans believe that there is waste, fraud, and abuse, and that our government has gotten into the business of funding things that it should not fund with our American taxpayer dollars. And listen, I'm all for taking the federal dollars away from NPR. I'm all for taking the federal dollars away from PBS, such as they are. Do it the way that it needs to be done. Competition is a good thing. If there is merit and if there is a desire for the thing, it will succeed. The marketplace will decide whether or not NPR should go and remain a thing. The marketplace will decide about PBS. And if there's no support for it, oh, well, okay, fine. I've never quite understood that. Never quite understood that. Kash Patel is nearing confirmation. Here's the other thing that I want to say, is as long as we're talking about the winning at the White House of late, everybody that they said was going to be hard to get through, they've gotten through. The cabinet is taking shape, and now we got Kash Patel, which may be interesting. Interestingly enough, remember that Peter Strzok guy? You know, the part of the FBI lovebirds? As Kash Patel, according to LifeZet.com, as Kash Patel nears the FBI confirmation, Peter Strzok has deleted all of his posts on X. He's cleared out his account. The move comes just days after the Senate Judiciary Committee approved Kash Patel's nomination, sending it to the full Senate for a final vote. But over the weekend, Strzok got busy on X and deleted everything that he had ever written. Strzok was, you may remember, fired from the FBI in 2018 for policy violations, and he played a key role in launching FBI's Trump-Russia investigation back in July of 2016. And as part of that probe, he exchanged numerous memorable text messages with FBI lawyer Lisa Page, some of them which revealed their intent to prevent Trump from winning the presidency. So he's been a critic of this president. Smarmy guy. Covering up his tracks. Because guess what? Here comes Kash Patel to the FBI. 50 minutes now past the hour.
Up ahead on Super Talk 99.7, a dividing line for the coming snowstorm. We'll tell you where that line is and what to expect north and south of it. And in one flooded out western Tennessee county, a state of emergency after a devastating event related to last weekend's rain. We've got those stories and more coming up at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, it's Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand today all the way till noon. Chris a little under the weather today. Think he's a good, strong lad. He'll be back. He'll be sharp tomorrow. You can't keep a good man down.
You think he'll sneak away and maybe go into the snow tomorrow?
Yeah, that's right. It's going to snow tomorrow.
It's going to snow tomorrow.
Nah, he's sledding with the kids.
Yeah, are you? Well, and I'm telling you, his kids are so adorable. Could you blame him, really, honestly?
No,
I really couldn't blame him at all. So we got, 1 to 2 inches south of I-40. Sorry, I got a little frog in my throat. I'm not used to doing this talking in the morning.
It's 4 to 6 above that line.
Yeah. North of I-40, 4 to 6 inches.
Yep.
South of I-40, 1 to 2 inches. As you get down to the Tennessee-Alabama line, maybe an inch.
Yeah.
Well, I can live with that. It's been crazy around here, but I can live with a little bit of snow.
Yeah, it shouldn't be as intense as it was last time, that's for sure.
It will start moving into southwestern Kentucky around 4 to 5 p.m. This afternoon, according to Fox 17. A spread southeast across Middle Tennessee through Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning. And it looks like the snow will start falling Nashville specific around 10 o'clock tonight. And then all chaos. They might, I don't know. In radio for many, many years, we did this thing where we'd get this school is closed and that school is closed. I don't know that there's much need to do that anymore because guess what? Kids have it on their phones. Parents have it on their phones even before we get it. So all of that technology now, if you're not going to be going to school tomorrow, you'll know about it pretty soon.
Oh, yeah. It's that big ease of access nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, amazing how that little thing that we carry around in our hands, how the world is connected right to that little device on our
Like the wild way I've heard it phrased is the thing that fits in my pocket right now used to fill two entire large rooms.
Oh, yeah.
To be able to operate.
Easily. I mean, isn't it really, when you think about what your phone can do now, it can get you to places on time. I don't know what I would do without my Waze.
Oh, yeah. I'm right there with you.
And it's got access to every known fact in the world right there in the palm of your hand. And if I'd have had this when I was a kid, I'd have been dangerous. Well, listen, coming up, we got a lot more to talk about. We're going to cover what's happening in the world around you here on the Chris Hand Show. Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand, who's a little under the weather. We got 2 more hours to go before we hand it over to Chad Benson. So you're listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for the news now.
Hey there, it's 10 o'clock right now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're at overcast and 32 degrees right now, expecting some snow to move in later. The National Weather Service issuing a winter storm warning for parts of Tennessee and southern Kentucky ahead of that expected snowfall. Channel 4's Stefano DiPietro says you do still have some time to make the bread and milk run at the grocery store because the snow doesn't begin to fall until later.
The evening hours, a lot of us that'll be after dinner time, and then continue through our night tonight into very early tomorrow morning, which means impacts for widespread areas for that morning commute tomorrow. Then extreme cold is going to follow Thursday into Friday. That is going to bring about a hard freeze, turning some of this snow potentially into ice for Thursday and into the day on Friday.
Now, at the moment, the winter storm warning is for areas north of I-40 and a winter storm watch for the areas south of I-40. But what is important is that we're all expecting some accumulating snow. Keep it here on 99.7 WTN. We'll keep you updated with all the latest information. In Kentucky, floodwaters are receding, but the rescues continue. The death toll from the weekend rains now stands at 11. Make that 12. It's now been updated to 12 in Kentucky, where nearly 250 people were rescued by helicopter yesterday. This woman tells Channel 4 that the flooded out parts of the road are sometimes not visible until it's right up on you.
I went from driving on no rainy puddles, like the road looked fine, to it was just all over my windshield. I went to put my car in reverse and I was hitting the gas to try to back up and the car was already in it. Like it was just that quick.
She had been driving in Bullitt County, Kentucky when that happened. She ended up having to swim to safety. In West Tennessee, Obion County, they're still working to rescue people who were trapped by floodwaters.
Mandatory evacuations are now underway in Reeves, Tennessee. So that's a small city about 2 hours north of Memphis. Yesterday, we know the Obion County Sheriff's Office worked to rescue anyone who stayed in their home overnight. Most of that town is still underwater this morning. The fire station also flooded with more than 6 inches of water.
That's WSMV's Holly Thompson there. A levee broke, and now a state of emergency has been declared there in Obion County. A Clarksville man's been arrested after police found drugs in his car. Now, Lebanon police say they got a call from a concerned citizen about a man who appeared to be passed out behind the wheel of his car. Well, police found him on North Cumberland Street, and yeah, he was passed out. Police found about 3.5 grams of heroin in the car with him. Lebanon police say this is exactly why they encourage people to call police if they see something that looks suspicious. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Good morning, everybody. It's 6 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson, yes, your friend and retired buddy. I'm still your FAR, but it now stands for friend and retired buddy. Filling in today for Chris Hand, who's a little under the weather at the last minute. So I get the call. Boss says, hey, did you get that text message? I said, no, man, I'm not awake yet. What are you talking about? I got awake. 1 cup of coffee and 20 minutes of research, and you too can be a radio talk show host. That'll be. All right. Yesterday, did you see this thing that happened up in Toronto? A CRJ 900 regional jet. This is a Bombardier jet. That there's flown a lot in Canada. This was actually a Delta, a puddle hopper. This is coming from Minneapolis into Toronto, and the winds were blowing, and who knows what happened. But boy, did they have a rough landing, and it rolled over on its back and snapped one of the wings off. And remarkably, unbelievably, all 76 passengers and the 4 crew members got off with their lives. Nobody died, which is good. That's good, but it's bad that this happened, but it's good that, and then, you know, I when I fly, I always try to sit in that exit row. You know, generally the exit row gives you just an inch or two of more leg room, and if you sit in the in the exit row, then the flight attendant comes over and asks you a series of questions about, you know, in the event of an emergency, would you be willing and able to take off this door and remove it and help people get off the plane? And I always say, yes, I will. Well, I never really thought about it because I never really imagined that they would truly ask me to do that. I have a feeling that, you know, if the plane has crashed and it's my job to get that door off and I still have, you know, the ability to do so and I'm conscious, I bet I could fling that door about 100 yards. I won't have any problem at all getting that door off. It's going to land out there in the middle of the tarmac a good 100 yards away. I'll fling that sucker.
It's like, hey, I'm ready to get off this plane.
Yeah, but I mean, but I don't think I would have had. I don't think, Mason, I would have had the thought. Grab your phone and make sure you get pictures of all this.
Oh, absolutely not.
I mean, I'd just get me off of this plane, and then, you know, if I need to help some others, that's fine. But I got to get away from this thing.
Yeah, recording it is on the bottom of my list of things to prioritize.
But apparently now it's the first instinct of a lot of people. And a lot of people climbing out this plane, first thing they're doing is they actually, some people took pictures of them actually climbing out of the plane when it was upside down on the tarmac. And they get out on the ice, and then they turn around and immediately start filming what has happened.
Yeah, it was wild.
I mean, I'm glad to see those pictures. It gives you some instinct of what they went through. It makes for a better story. It will give the investigators something to look at when it comes time to do their investigation. But I'm not sure that would be my first instinct. Survival would be my first instinct.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So anyway, I just think that's interesting. And I'm a guy who was raised in television, always get the picture. But man, I tell you, if I'm sitting in that plane and it's upside down and then I let myself out of the seat belts and I fall to the ceiling and climb, I would just be scrambling.
It's the rush to get out, yeah.
You know, they say that a hero is really just an average person who finds themselves in extraordinary circumstances and does the right thing. I don't know if I would have the wherewithal to do the right thing. My instinct would be just get away from the airplane that just rolled over on the tarmac. Get away from the fire, get away from the smoke, get away from they're getting pelted with water from the fire trucks.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
They're still out there shooting pictures. Video posted on social media showed the plane, which was arriving from Minneapolis, upside down on the runway. 18 people injured. No fatalities. The injuries relatively minor. Some people immediately started tweeting and texting and Xing. We just landed. Our plane crashed. It's upside down, John Nelson, who recorded the video, said as he walked away from the plane. Most people appear to be okay. The passengers were getting off the plane. The CEO of the airport there in Toronto is someone named Deborah Flint. She said that of those injured, none were in critical condition. Boy, what a great outcome that is. The plane rolls over on the tarmac, skids to a stop, snapped off the wings. There's fire, there's smoke, and you're upside down with your wheels sticking up in the air. And nobody got hurt. How amazing is that? Some tried to blame it on the Donald Trump's cuts at the FAA. I don't think that's the problem. This was in Toronto. FAA, I don't know if you know this, the FAA does not operate in Toronto. Here's a story from the Washington Times, our good friend Susan Ferraccio. FAA's new tower controls, new traffic control towers go green. Aviation experts anticipating Elon Musk's plan to tackle the nation's antiquated air traffic control system are scratching their heads over the Biden administration's move to rebuild dozens of aging regional airports with green replacements instead of cheaper and safer digital technology. Remote towers, essentially cameras on tall scaffolding, are used widely throughout Europe. Infrared cameras and other advanced equipment can provide safer, less expensive air traffic monitoring, particularly when visibility is low in inclement weather. Instead, the FAA is sticking with manned airport towers. Under President Biden, had allocated hundreds of millions of dollars to a massive project to build green towers. Set aside $500 million for the design and early construction of the projects, which were scheduled to break ground last year. Well, we got to make sure our air traffic controllers have green towers. Key West International Airport in Florida, Fort Worth International Airport, Northeast Philadelphia Airport, Hartford Brainerd Airport, Pueblo Memorial in Colorado, Modesto City, Coleman A. Young. They're all getting these once-in-a-generation green air control towers. I don't care if it's green or not. I care whether or not they get me there safely. By the way, had a conversation. Let me just say this about that. I had a conversation the other day with someone in a position to know. I don't want to say too much now because there's got to be I'm going to do some reporting on this as we go forward. Person in a position to know about the tower at B&A says that our tower is shorthanded a lot, a whole bunch. That when we talk about what's going on in the FAA, this is a Biden era issue that needs to be resolved. And all of this talk about DEI and how it is impacted, I think it may well have impacted the FAA. And that's the evidence I'm getting from the people that I'm talking to. That it's all about DEI. It's all about, making sure that you have green this and green that, instead of thinking about the things that are really important. There are a few agencies that have really important missions. The FAA, I want them to get my plane from point A to point B safely. I don't care what color you are. I don't care, I don't care what gender you are. I don't care anything about that. All I care is, can you do the job? You don't want, a diversity hire handling these things if that person's not qualified. And I think that's what happened to the Secret Service. I think that's what's happening at the FBI. I think it's happening to a lot of agencies during the Biden era. They were weakened by DEI. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced Monday that President Trump's government efficiency advisor, that's Elon Musk, will visit the Air Traffic Control Systems Command Center in Virginia to help him envision how we can make a new, better, modern, and safer system. So there you go. I like that idea. I mean, what's wrong? If you've got it all dialed in and everything's fine, then what's wrong with having Elon come by and taking a look at what you're doing? Having one of the great minds of our time taking a look at something and saying, you know what? I think we can do better. I think there are things here. There's technology available. We can make this a much more efficient operation. And when you say efficiency in air traffic control, you're also talking about increased safety. We've had a run, I don't know that what ultimately is going to be said about that accident that occurred in the nation's capital. I don't know how they're going to look at this thing in Toronto and ultimately come down on it. But the bottom line is that we really do need an updated system. I mean, we got them filing paperwork in a cave in Pennsylvania. Paperwork, actual paperwork. If people want to retire, they got to fill out their paperwork, and it goes to a cave in Virginia, in Pennsylvania. We got an IRS that is using 1960s computer technology. We have air traffic control systems that haven't been successfully upgraded in an advanced way in some time. We can make them more efficient. We can make them more safe. But the bottom line is we got to start, letting Elon be Elon and do some of this stuff. Couple of quick stories about drones. One of them about the great concern that we have in America about drones at the moment. From Axios. Ask NFL executives their biggest fear. It has nothing to do with fans, players, or TV rights. It's drones, which are hard for authorities to track and almost impossible to stop if ever unleashed on an open-air stadium. Ask U.S. intelligence their biggest fear. They'll tell you about warnings of drone swarms, domestic or foreign, targeting American soil. Probe deeper, and you'll learn that the vast majority of these drones are made in China and therefore conceivably controllable by America's greatest adversary. TikTok accused of being a security threat, but it can't spy. It can't drop bombs. Look in the skies of Syria, Russia, or many squinted and said, New Jersey, the future of terrorism and warfare is on a vivid display. Drones gather intelligence, guide artillery, and shape battle plans. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt began her first briefing by confirming something that had been long apparent. Last fall's feverishly drone spottings in the Northeast were mostly sightings of airplanes, but there are concerns. There are real concerns about drones and what they might do, and do we need to be ready for them? I think we do. And speaking of drones, the CIA, under President Donald Trump, is now flying covertly MQ-9 Reaper drones over Mexico to spy on the drug cartels. Current and former officials with the matter have confirmed to CNN. The missions, which have not been previously reported, come as the Trump administration moves to treat transnational drug cartels as terrorist organizations, a designation it has yet to officially make. The MQ-9 drones used for missions are not currently armed, but can be equipped with payloads to carry out precision airstrikes. The U.S. regularly uses them to target suspected terrorists in Syria, Iraq, and Somalia. Some current and former officials say designating cartels as terrorist groups could potentially lay the groundwork for direct U.S. strikes against the cartels and against their drug labs in Mexico. Yeah, and the problem with that is what? Absolutely, let's do that. Look, you can't trust the Mexican government. I wish we could. I wish we could say to the Mexican government, fix this problem, but they can't. They're completely corrupt and controlled by the cartels. And the cartels are creating a national security problem for us by the bringing in of drugs and bringing in of people illegally, acting as coyotes, bringing them into the country. We should be able to treat them as enemy combatants. They do not have our best interest at play, and I love the fact that they're out there doing research right now with unarmed drones. But what's wrong with doing what we would do to any other national security threat? Especially when other countries don't seem to have the will or the ability to do that. I think we should. We know where they are. We know how they operate. Shouldn't be very, very difficult. I'm glad they're out there gathering all of that intelligence. Maybe they'll hand it over to the Mexican government saying, go at them, go at them, go at them. But I don't think they're up to the task, quite frankly. Let's treat them like enemy combatants. Let's solve that problem once and for all. 20 minutes now past the hour of 10 o'clock on the Chris Hand Show.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Yeah, we've got a snow event headed our way. It's not exactly Snowmageddon, but significant enough to cause a winter storm warning. Details ahead. Also, a federal judge's ruling that agrees with Doge. Those stories coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I don't know about you, Joan, but I think all the plants around my house are a little confused.
Oh, the plants?
Yeah, I mean, the plants are confused. Like, I mean, I'm looking out
Yeah.
onto my driveway right now, and I've got a row of those trash trees, the Bradford pears that everybody hates. and they look like they're ready to bud out.
Yeah.
And then here comes the snow.
Yeah. Some people, their dogwoods have already begun blooming.
Yeah,
So
yeah. The old saying is, and when I grew up in West Texas was, if you don't like the weather in West Texas, hang around for 30 minutes, it'll change. That's sort of the way it is here.
Yeah.
I mean, well, and I think next week we're going to be, up into the 60s?
Oh, is that right? I haven't looked that far ahead because it's so stinking cold.
I took a glance. But, this stuff, this nonsense, this snow, I'm done with it. And the roads have really taken a hit.
Yes.
Have you noticed?
The potholes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're bad.
They're super bad.
I have Waze everywhere I go with Waze because I don't want to really learn where I'm going. I'm just I just want to follow the voice, and Waze will tell you first of all when there's a police officer ahead, which I really appreciate. Thank you so much for that. But the other thing that it does is it will tell you where there are potholes. People report potholes.
I did not know that.
Well, that's fine, but this time of year when you get into your car and you're headed somewhere, like I had to head do some errands the other day, and it's all you get is there is a pothole ahead. There is a pothole ahead. There is a pothole ahead.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I know there are a lot of potholes.
Yep.
And I guess there are people who have Waze, because Waze you can report that kind of stuff. You report things like, I guess there are just people who have nothing better to do than just sit there and.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, nuts.
Because they're doing it while they're driving.
Well, or somebody in the passenger seat is.
Hopefully.
I don't know. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't know. But here it comes. Now, what do you do? Do you do that? Do you make the run to get the milk and the bread and the?
No, we have a little bit of a storage. Like we have stored some food We're preppers, okay? We're preppers.
Are you really?
No,
Well,
not totally. But yes, we are prepared for, if things go sideways.
Joan, I don't think there's anything you can do that would be smarter than that. I quite frankly, I'm not a prepper in the classic sense of the world. I don't have a bunker, that kind of stuff.
Right, neither do I.
But I do think a lot about, because you and I have both been in situations where you have to cover stories, and when things go south, it can get complicated, and you may have to survive on your own for a number of days before help arrives, really.
Yep.
I mean, you can't really count. I mean, look at what happened in East Tennessee and over there in North Carolina. The government still hasn't been able to respond in a significant way there. So you've got to be able to go up on your own. And I don't have a bunker, and I don't have like a bomb shelter, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I do think about that kind of stuff.
You put a little food up. I've learned how to can, so you put a little food up, and learn how to have clean water. I think that's the most important thing, having clean water.
Yeah, because water's the first thing that if you don't have water, you're not going to last long.
Yeah, and a little bit of heat.
Yeah, I know. So, think about all those kind of things and try to make sure that I'm not saying that, this is going to be Armageddon or Snowmageddon. It's going to be a couple inches of snow, folks. Let's not get too crazy about it. But I do think it is incumbent upon us to say, I can't really count on the government for a couple of days at best.
Or the grocery stores. I mean, we saw what happened during COVID, that the grocery stores were cleared out. Wow, how scary was that?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So I keep a little money in a safe.
Yep.
I mean, because you don't think about all the things that happen. Like, for example, when the electricity goes out.
Yes.
You can't pump gas. How are you going to solve that problem?
Yeah.
You can't go to the ATM and get cash.
You need that cash on hand.
You got to have. That's right. Some walking around money, as my dad used to
walking
say.
around money. That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, we said, just to recap, if you don't know, snow is coming. Starts a little bit later today, late in the evening. Start to arrive maybe in middle of Nashville by about 10 p.m. tonight. If you are north of I-40, you're looking at 4 to 6 inches. If you're south of I-40, it looks like maybe an inch or 2, 3 inches maybe. So get ready for that. And all the schools will be closed.
Without a doubt. They've got the days scheduled in, so they might as well use it.
That's right. Why not? I was always in favor of that.
As a kid or as a parent or
as
what?
As a kid, either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like those days. 29 minutes now past the hour, almost 10:30. Time for the news now with Joan Jones.
Good morning to you, and there we go. Now we're at 10:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Stick around for the full forecast on the way, but I will tell you that the snow should begin falling around here after you've cleaned up the supper dishes. I'm told it's not dinner dishes, it's supper dishes. Here's what Channel 4's Stefano DiPietro has to say about this.
Winter weather advisory south of I-40, a winter storm warning along and north of I-40 starting again this evening and lasting all the way through tonight and into that morning commute tomorrow.
Yeah, so in that warning area that he talked about above I-40, it's 2 to 4 inches of snow expected there. The watch area south of I-40, that's where we'll get maybe 1 to 2 inches of snow. All the areas in the WTN listening area, it'll be cold after the snow. So there is an expectation that the road is going to freeze for the commute tomorrow, Thursday, perhaps Friday as well. So be advised of that as you're making plans for the rest of the week. A federal judge has declined to issue a temporary restraining order that would have blocked Doge staff from accessing sensitive personal and financial information at the Department of Education. It was filed by the University of California Student Association, but the judge said that group didn't offer any evidence that it would be harmed. Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett on the Dan Mandis show this morning.
This is our one shot at saving the republic. We're $36 trillion in debt. Every 100 days we add another $1 trillion. And neither party has a plan to pay that back.
A barrage of lawsuits filed over Doge's actions sets the stage for showdowns before the Supreme Court. In April, Southwest Airlines is scheduled to start flying 6 new nonstop flights from Nashville to a handful of cities, including Memphis and Tulsa. But the airline just announced that it's making some cutbacks.
The email went out Monday to corporate staff all the way up to vice president level.
They were ordered to leave headquarters at 6 p.m.
Aviation analyst Steve Cosgrove says 1,750 workers will learn today whether their jobs at Southwest Airlines are safe. Cosgrove calls it historic.
50 years, they've never laid off. And now they're like every other airline.
The layoffs target 15% of employees at headquarters. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
That is the latest news. We've got your weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
It is 37 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. No, I am not Chris Hand. I am your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson, filling in for Chris Hand, who's a little under the weather, but he's a stout guy. He'll come back. He'll come back strong. He'll be here tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. Glad that you're with us here. Been nice kind of, taking a few days off and catching my breath, but I still find that I have a lot of things that I want to say. Still a lot of things that I got to get off my chest. And so I'm, although I'm not happy that Chris is not feeling well, glad to be with you here today to get a few things off. I mean, the bulldog is getting completely tired of listening to me rant.
Grogu being your primary audience for right now.
Yeah, so these days, it's me and Grogu around the house. She's on the couch right behind me here. Aww. If you're watching on Super Talk TV, you can see her in the background sometimes, just laying over there watching. She loves to come to work. You say the word work, and boy, those ears perk up. She likes to come 50 feet over to 50 feet over to the studio. She thinks it's a big deal. Well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Listen, I got to tell you, Trump is just crushing it. Everything seems to be going so. I mean, sure, is it perfect? No, it's not. No human endeavor is ever going to be perfect. But are there been a few little hiccups there? Yeah. But nothing in the grand scheme of things that overcomes the successes that he's had. First of all, can I just say, was there ever a more badass move than to take the presidential limo and run it around the track at Daytona? I mean, was that about the coolest thing ever?
That was awesome.
I mean, that is so awesome. I mean, who thought that idea up? I think that's a great one. I mean, that was about, I said, did they put the beast on the track? Yes, they did.
They did, and it was
they used the beast as a what do they call it? Pacing vehicle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they did. How cool is that? I wonder how they worked that out. But, one way or the other. Is the only way Trump was going to get on the track is if the Secret Service drove the beast on the... But that's cool. That's pretty cool. I thought that was great fun. But he's having a lot of fun doing it. Doesn't care what the other side thinks. Just getting stuff done. And it's going over pretty well. CNN did an interview with 11 Arizonans. Now, these 11 Arizonans voted for Biden in 2020, but voted for Trump in 2024. And they did a big Zoom call with them, and Dana Bash, talked to them, and they're really pleased with what Trump is doing.
Talked to some Arizona voters who switched from voting for Joe Biden in 2020 to Trump in 2024, and so far, they mostly like what they see.
I just think he's trying to get America back on track as quickly as possible, given the state that it was left in from the previous administration.
It feels more merit and transparency that I'm getting from the administration so far.
I approve of a lot of the stuff that he's doing with the border and everything.
He's put other countries on notice that were to be taken seriously.
For the most part, I feel like he's on the right track by keeping transgenders out of women's sports. That's number one.
All 11 Biden-Trump voters say they approve of Donald Trump's first weeks in office. My panel is back.
Well, there you go. I mean, that Dana looks like she's sucking on lemons as she says that. She can't believe it, quite frankly. But they are. Americans are very pleased. Listen to this. This is of an ABC poll. Favorability on issues among adults. This is ABC, remember. Government's recognition of only two sexes. 63% of those that were interviewed by ABC News say they support the president on his insistence that there are only two sexes. 63%. It's hard to find 63% of Americans who agree on anything, but they agree on that. Remember if you were listening to my show back during the days when we were in the middle of the campaign, I kept saying, this is the issue that resonates. This is the issue they need to be talking about. This is the question they need to be raising. Because most Americans just think it's insane to have men playing on a women's sports team. And it is insane. All right, so 63% of Americans, as polled by ABC News, say that they support the president on that. 60% say that they support the president's deportation of immigrants that are in this country illegally. 60% say that they are in favor of the president's policy of expanding oil and gas production in America. And 59% say they are in favor of declaring an emergency at the southern border. Win, 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 win. Americans are loving it. And it, by the way, the longer he's in office, the better his numbers get. His approval rating right now is 55%. 55%. He's at plus 12 is what you call it. 55% approved, 43% disapprove, an approval rating of plus 12. But just in early February, that was at 51%. So here's the thing. People are taking stock of what this new old president is doing, and they like it. And he's got great numbers compared to where he was in 2017, same period of time. 70%, according to CNN, of Americans say Trump is doing exactly what he promised, and his approval ratings are at an all-time high. 70%. They love him for the shock and awe. And hasn't it been great? I mean, it's been so much fun to sit there and watch every day. What is he going to do next? What's he going to? And by the time he makes his announcement, well, the Democrats are responding to the announcement from the day before. And you're already out of the news cycle. I mean, that's old news because we got something new to talk about here. I mean, I got to tell you, I have this thing that I don't like called news management. Democrats are the masters of it. That's playing little games like, well, if you got bad news to report, you report it at 5 o'clock on a Friday, just as people are heading out to their weekend, thinking that it'll get lost in the weekend news cycle when people aren't paying attention to the news, when they're outside their regular thing. So, I don't like that. I think it's manipulation of the news, and I've never cared for it. But I will say that what I like about this administration is the transparency. You don't have to wonder what our president thinks about something, because if you hang around for a few hours, he's going to get in front of a camera and tell you. I love the fact that the Republicans have chosen as their press secretary Caroline Leavitt, who is just crushing it. I mean, she may be one of the best I've ever seen. She's brilliant, and what she's doing is she's saying, hey, you want evidence that, for example, the things that Doge are finding are real. Here's evidence. Boom, boom, boom. Americans will, if you just explain to them what you're doing and why you're doing it, and if those policies make good sense, the American people will be with you on that, and they are. They are. This is going really, really well. I mean, this is his second honeymoon phase. But I love the fact that everybody's looking at this and the numbers are looking pretty good. What a concept. What an unusual thing it is when you have a president who went out there and campaigned on this, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to get out there and I'm going to try to shut down that war in Ukraine. I'm going to try to make amends in the Mideast. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. We're going to get Doge in here to start. And you know what? He actually is doing it. People love the pace of what's happening. And after the lethargic, sloth-like administration that we just experienced, where nothing happened and it wasn't really clear who was in charge, there is little doubt that the man in charge is Donald J. Trump Jr., that he is running this country, and he's got some great help with him. And one of the things that I think is great is you got people like Pete Hegseth over at the Pentagon. You got Marco Rubio, I think one of the smartest people in American politics today, as your Secretary of State. You're going to get Kash Patel as your director of the FBI, and that's going to happen. You have everybody said, well, there's going to be some of these nominees for cabinet positions that you're simply not going to get pushed through. So far, pushed through. It's just success after success after success after success. It's a good thing. It's absolutely a good thing. So here we are in the midst of Donald Trump. He's now, what is it? It's the 18th day of February, so he's been almost 2 months. Well, it'd be January 20th to February 20th, to be exactly 1 month, right? 1 month in. And he's just crushing it. He's just getting it done in a huge way. And the American people are responding in a very, very positive way. I'm loving it. I'm just loving it. What do you think about what he's done? Maybe we'll open up the phone lines here in a few minutes, in the next hour, to talk a little bit about, what is it that you are most pleased with? What are the things you want to see done? What are your concerns? Because we're nearly a month in. I'd love to know your thoughts about that. So if you want to get on the line, 615-737-9986. We'll take those calls coming up in the next hour. Trump's in for the better part of a month. Everybody says you got to get it done in the first 100 days. I agree with that wholeheartedly. If you don't get everything accomplished that you really want to accomplish as president in the first 3 to 6 months, I give you 6. Then it's probably not going to happen. Because immediately you start thinking about the next election cycle, everything gets political. He's on the move, and one of the things I'll have to say is he learned his lesson in the first round, that you've got to come in with all guns blazing. You've got to come in ready to move quickly. You can't stand around on your laurels. You can't sit there and tap your toe. You don't really have four years. You really have about 6 months to accomplish the big things. And so he's at it. And so far, I like everything that he's doing. If he can get the 2 big, beautiful bills or the 1 big, beautiful bill that will codify a lot of things that he's trying to do, it will be a true victory. And it sounds like we're on track. Sounds like we're going to get that. And in the meantime, the mainstream press, they look like they're sucking on lemons. In the meantime, you look at what's happening with the Democrats, and they're in complete disarray. I mean, they got nothing to do except to go back to the Saul Alinsky book. They're just pulling stuff out of the 1960s. Not accomplishing anything. Just throw rocks. If Donald Trump is for it, then we're against it. Even, nobody besides perhaps Fetterman is taking a moment to pause and say, well, look, let's look at what this president's trying to accomplish. Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Most Americans believe that it's a good thing if you want to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. Democrats would be wise to get on board with some of that, but they just can't bring themselves to do it. They just can't bring themselves to say, you know what, you're right, we need to do some of that. Because the American people know what's going on. They have it figured out. And as these numbers say, there is a great deal of support for this president and his policies. And they just haven't figured out yet how to respond to it. Well, you know what they always say, if your enemy is out there and they're stumbling and they're bumbling and they seem to be in chaos, what's the most important thing you can do? Nothing. Let them flounder. And they are definitely floundering. It's Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand now, 50 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk.
A snow event on the way to Middle Tennessee, and they keep finding victims in the Kentucky flooding. These stories and more at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, that's Ken Weaver.
Brother Brian.
Hey, what are you doing, Ken?
To what do I owe this pleasure?
Apparently, Chris Hand is under the weather.
Oh.
He's under the weather, but he'll be back, we think, tomorrow.
Well, that's what he gets for having kids.
That's right. I'm telling you, he's got the most adorable little family you've ever seen. They are just, the kids are just about the cutest things you've ever seen. But I would imagine when you got 4 little ones, they're out there and they're engaging in the real world, and they come home and they bring home every germ that's in that classroom.
Yes, sir.
It's just like, I mean, Cabana wife got it.
Uh-oh.
She got it. Because she got it right after we came back when we were in D.C., right?
Yeah.
And so listen to this. I'm supposed to. My goal was to be there for the inauguration, but to be flexible enough that if all hell broke loose during the inauguration and there were continuing stories, that I was going to stay.
Right.
I was going to stay there and continue to report. Turned out none of that happened. But Cabana wife needed to get back to work. She was there with me, and she needed to get back to work.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes and she rents a car, drives it up to BWI, Baltimore Washington International Airport, flies back, and I don't know, somewhere on that flight she picked it up.
Yep.
I mean, she got a bad dose of it, and she flew back, and she was home by about 2:00. I was home by 7, and I drove it. She could have driven with me, but she got sick and she was on the couch for a number of days. And,
Goodness.
And I, much as I love my wife, I was there to bring her, a hot toddy or
That's
whatever
right.
it was she wanted.
Yeah.
But then I would stay as far away from her as I possibly can. So far, I have not gotten it.
My wife actually busted out some old M95 masks we had back. I mean, my family, we are just now all healthy. I'm telling you, man, basically Thanksgiving to New Year, we were picking up whatever is out there.
I know, yeah.
And I mean, we just could not shake it. So, yeah, I get home one night and my wife throws me an M95 mask. Says, put it on. And I said, I'm not wearing this thing in the house. And then, of course, I got sick.
Yeah, I know. Well, she really was relegated to the couch for a number of nights.
Yeah. Well, she's okay
It's
now,
her
though.
call, not my call. I wouldn't make her sleep on the couch.
Well, heck no.
But she decided she'd sleep on the couch. So, somehow I escaped it. I am so happy that I didn't get it. But what was interesting is she could have just ridden back with me and avoided all of that. But we didn't know.
Right.
You know what we're saying?
You don't know, man.
Yeah.
But you know what I say about those planes, Brother Brian?
What's that?
It's the coffee breath. Throughout the cabin, all you can smell is people's coffee breath.
Well, if you can smell their coffee breath, then there are germs in there. I don't know. Yeah,
I heard you talking. I heard you talking earlier about everything going on, man.
Oh yeah.
I agree with you. This is. You've talked about this for a long time. What the Trump administration is doing now is that this is something that, like, both sides of the aisle and presidents have said they were going to do for years.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden,
but they never did it, did they?
They never did it.
Well, got Obama and Clinton. They all tried to cut spending, but they didn't do a very good job of it because they didn't really want to cut the spending.
And here we are.
I
remember a good senator out of Idaho who I covered quite a bit, Mike Crapo. He's on the Senate.
I remember Crapo.
Senate Banking Committee. And I remember he was telling us back in 2005 that the national debt is the greatest threat to our security. And that eventually some hard decisions are going to have to be made.
Well, the hard decisions are here, and I'm ready to make them. And I really, truly believe 1,000% that the smaller you make government, the better we're off going to be. Do you need government? Yeah, I believe there is a role for government. There's no doubt about that. But I believe that the government which governs best is that which governs least. And I'm in favor of everything that's going on here. It's so much fun to watch, so much winning. How do you feel about the first, basically we're at a month.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? 615-737-9986. We'll take your calls right after the news with Ken Weaver. I'm Brian Wilson filling in for the ailing Chris Hand on Super Talk 99.7.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Drivers in Bellevue got some road work and only one lane is open. Going to be 40 eastbound right before Bellevue. That's Highway 70, exit 196. And here we go again in the middle of a winter storm warning for what's expected around here.
Light snow developing late today through tonight and right into that morning commute tomorrow. Of course, we are expecting widespread travel impacts across Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky with extreme cold to follow Thursday and Friday. When the snow is done, you really want to try to get it cleared out because then it's going to hard freeze because of that extreme cold.
Channel 4's Stefano DiPietro. The Middle Tennessee area expected to see snow accumulations between 3 and 4 inches. Southern Kentucky, 4 to 6 inches of snowfall. Keep it right here. Super Talk 99.7 WTN for all the latest weather information. Yeah, officials in Kentucky now confirming the death toll from the severe flooding has risen to 14. At a press conference last night, Governor Andy Beshear.
We know that climate change is making more weather events happen, but we keep getting hit over and over. And while the why is hard, I think we always see God in the response. Good people, brave people, doing the right thing, showing up for their neighbors.
Yeah, Bashir says a lot of the deaths are due to people trying to drive through water. He thanked President Trump for approving the state's request for an emergency disaster declaration, saying the approval came as quickly as we have ever seen a president sign off on our request. Meantime, water levels in Clarksville remain high this morning. Some homes remain underwater. This man telling Channel 4 it's the second time this year he's suffered losses because of flooding.
There's probably at least $300,000 worth of tools and cars gone. I'm leaving. I can't keep replacing tools every time this happens. And the city's not doing anything to fix the drainage.
And in our nation's capital, 2nd District Congressman Tim Burchett on WTN's Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis show says Doge should be looking for money being spent badly, and he knows where some of it's going.
I have a bill to stop the Taliban from receiving $40 million a week that we know of. It's probably closer to $140 million. Now we come to find out that we've been funding terrorist organizations to the tune of billions with a B of your tax dollars. We're borrowing this money from your great-grandchildren.
Meanwhile, the federal judge has declined to issue a temporary restraining order that would have blocked Doge staff from accessing sensitive personal and financial information at the Department of Education. And we're hearing from some of the 80 people aboard that Delta flight that flipped upside down upon landing in Toronto yesterday. John Nelson tells ABC News it was like right after the plane stopped tumbling.
Everybody was quiet for like a moment or two, and then everybody was trying to scramble to make a sense of what just had happened. And so we released the seatbelts that kind of fell to the floor, which is now the ceiling.
Cause is still being investigated. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It is 6 minutes past the hour of 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. No, it's not Chris Hand. Chris is off today, feeling a little under the weather. Got that flu going around in his house. And I can only imagine how that feels. I've been lucky enough to dodge it, man. I'm telling you, what a nasty bout that has been.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I had it a couple weeks ago, and it took me for a spin. That's for sure.
Yeah, do you still have the cough?
It like lingers right in the back of my throat.
I've heard that it can linger for as much as 2 months. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had it for like about 3 weeks now. Is that lingering cough, and it's been...
And of course, when you're in radio, the lack of a voice is a distinct problem.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little, it is, I tell you, there have been some days where I came in, I said, well, I'm not in the best of voice, but I'll try to struggle through.
Yeah, constantly muting yourself to get a little gulp of water.
Then you go back and you listen to you say, oh, Lord, that was painful. Why did I make my audience go through that? Well, happy to fill in at the last minute. I got this phone call about 7:30.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Hey, did you get my text message? I said, text message? Dude, it's 7:30. And I'm retired. You think I'm checking my text messages at 7:30 in the morning?
Not supposed to be up this early.
I'm not saying, no. He said, no, Chris is out. Can you come in? I said, yeah, I can come in. So I rushed into the studio and started prepping. So I'm a little underprepared today. It's not as much as I like to do, but we're doing okay. And I got the phone lines open now at 615-737-9986. Now, we've been talking about Donald Trump most of this program, the successes he's having, the stuff that Doge is doing. He's trying to end wars. I mean, it's been like one thing after another. Somebody jokingly says, covering news in Washington at the White House right now is trying to get a water out of a fire hose. It's coming so fast. You can't deal with it all. But generally, I think, there have been a few little minor missteps. Yeah, no big deal. It's a human endeavor. There's going to be things that don't go quite as smoothly. But by and large, it's going great. And we're almost a full month out. Let's see. So Inauguration Day was January 20th. Here we are. It's Tuesday, February 18th. And so we're almost a month into it. My question for you is, how do you think Donald Trump is doing? What are the things that have impressed you most? Are there things out there that you really wish that he would focus on that he hasn't focused on as yet? 615-737-9986. Ernie in Cottontown, you're on with Brian on the drive. Hello, Ernie. What's on your mind today? What do you think?
Good morning, Brian. I would like to compare our country to an engine. A large engine, a powerful engine, the strongest engine in the fleet. And it's got oil leaks and coolant leaks, and they're just pouring out. And the previous administration just pouring some oil in it every day, and it'll running right out on the ground. Our president stood and looked at it for the last 4 years and trying to make the proper wise decision, and he starts out with the oil leaks. He's fixing those. He might have to replace a bunch of leaks, put some gaskets in it, and the coolant, it might be a loose hose, or he might have to completely replace it. Before he does all that, he realizes he's got a strong engine, and it's powerful, and it's even a person from Midland, Texas could understand it.
No, those Midlanders, they're not that bright, actually, to be honest with you, Ernie. But no, I love your metaphor. That's great stuff. It's like a powerful engine, just needs a tune-up. Put it back in good order. Fix that water pump. Replace those oil leaks. Put in a gasket or two. And you can get it up and running good. It will come. The thing I know about America's economic powerhouse, this engine that we have, is if you get out of the way, it will do the thing it needs to do. The economy will right itself if you just get out of the way. Ernie, thank you for the call. Greatly appreciate it. Ron in Pleasant View. Hello, Ron. You're up with Brian, filling in for Chris Hand on the Chris Hand Show. What do you think?
Hey, Brian. I hope you're doing well. I can tell you this, that I have been so much more optimistic since President Trump has been sworn in. This long overdue. I have worked on projects myself that involved fraud and waste and abuse of our taxpayer dollars across the pond, and of course it's been documented. You know, this is just the unbelievable stuff that's about to come out. That's going to hopefully, I don't care what side of the party you're on. If you can't look at this from an American perspective, then I mean, I don't know. Maybe you need to move somewhere else. Maybe to Canada, to the next state that's coming. I'm not really sure, but I do know this. I'm retired from the Army, Brian, and I knew when Don't Ask, Don't Tell came about that many of us talked about this is the beginning of the end. And this is all things are getting restored. We have to have people that are willing to serve in a competitive environment and not feel like they have to walk on eggshells with multiple situations. And I've had to deal with many of those. So it's just such a breath of fresh air.
It is. I mean, it's like every day you get up and you go, wow. Wow.
Well, we've started a Christmas club, and that's what I wanted to share with you is that we're all going to get these special Christmas hats because every day is like Christmas for a lot of us. And
right.
It just depends on which lens you look through, you know.
Right.
And we want everyone to know that they can be part of this Christmas club. And I'm a first-time caller, Brian. I've never called any show or nothing like that of that nature. I'm just so proud of the direction that we're going in right now, and that we're going to be able to, you know, get rid of a lot of this nonsense and get back to some common sense about some things. And, you know, the overall morale of our military should be super important to anybody. I don't care what party you belong to.
Right.
And if that stuff was affecting the morale in our military, I mean, and I can tell you this right now without going into great detail, Brian, I've talked to a lot of SF folks there at Fort Campbell, and there's stuff going on there that they don't appreciate, and other units there, and they just want, you know, it to be a fully competitive environment that's fair to everyone. So, you know, it's been on the downside for quite some time.
Yeah,
that's why the recruiting.
It's exciting to see it go the other way. Ron, he's a first-time caller, but he had a lot to get off his chest there today. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate the call.
Well, I'm going to call back, Brian, when you're on your regular show and share the Christmas club, and we're going to have a big gathering and invite everyone out to the Christmas club. And if they want to come and share the American spirit with us, then we're going to do it.
All right. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. Got a lot of other calls I want to try to squeeze in here. Heather in Nashville, you're up next. So the president's been in office almost a month now. How do you think he's doing?
I think he's doing an amazing job, and this whole Doge and everything they're finding and the waste, fraud, and abuse. And then you hear these people singing and saying, well, Congress, we're the ones with the purse strings. And I'm like, well, thank you for reminding us of that, because this is why we're in this mess. It's because of y'all. Y'all are in charge of the purse strings, and you've let all of these payments go out. This is crazy. So I'm super thrilled. And then when they say they can't tell where the checks have gone because there's nothing in the, you know, subject line and all of that, well, you know, obviously it's there somewhere. You just have to dig deeper, because when it goes through a bank, it gets stamped on the bank, on the back, who endorsed it or what account it's going into. So it's going to take some effort, but that can all be determined, and we'll know who has been benefiting. And you know, people who are 115 years old still getting Social Security. I mean,
yeah, I know that's something.
Kind of stuff.
How many people are out there that are over 150 years old? You know something's not right with that. Thank you for the call, Heather. Appreciate it. Let's get Stephen in here. Hello, Stephen. You're up next on the Chris Hand Show. Brian Wilson filling in. Yep. So how do you think about it?
Hey, Brian. Hey, good to hear back from you again, man. I hope everything's going good with you. And
it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty. You know, I already knew he was gonna have his house in order because we won the 3 branches. So I'm good. I'm happy to see how everything's going. I just have 2 things that I wish we could get done. The first is this preemptive pardon stuff. I just wish somebody could get in touch with somebody that knows people in Congress. I don't know what you got to do to get rid of this, but we have to get rid of preemptive pardons immediately. This is still fresh on my mind, and while it's still lingering around, before we get too far away from it and everybody forgets about what just happened with all that, that needs to go away. I don't see a reason for preemptive pardons I mean, what is the reason for them? I mean, nobody should be pardoned preemptively. That's what the system is for. That's what it's all built for. So you go in front of a judge, you're tried, you're found guilty or not guilty, and then if things are bad in kangaroo court land, then you could pardon somebody that everybody knows is innocent. But a preemptive pardon should not exist, especially for the reason of Fauci in general, but for Biden and all his family and everybody else too. But we need to be able to hold Fauci accountable for the wrong that was done. Real quick on the second thing.
Yeah, real quick.
One more thing. All right. These Green Berets, I caught wind about these Green Berets that are down in Mexico training the forces in Mexico to fight the cartels. I don't know who instructed this to happen, but have we not learned what happens when we train these indigent forces to fight these terrorists that are in these countries? If you know that the cartel is not going to be getting these tactics that I don't know to the extent of the training that we're supposed to be teaching them, but I think that is a big mistake. It needs to go away. If we're going to go down there and handle it, we need to be the ones to do it. They need to step aside and step out of the way. We don't need to be training them our high-end special forces tactics and techniques to let them know that, because it's just going to go into the hands, into the minds of the wrong people down there. It's
all right,
way
Steve.
Too corrupt.
I appreciate all that input, and there's some interesting thoughts there. I haven't thought that much about what's going on down there in Mexico, but one thing that I am glad about is that we're now looking at that whole situation anew, and we have the Mexicans' undivided attention. There's no doubt about that. All right, thank you for the call. Let's get another one in here. Larry in the Franklin area. So we're almost at a month. How do you think he's done? How do you feel about all the changes? And is there anything out there that you wish they would still jump on?
Well, for starters, I will tell you, you guys were singing my song a little earlier because I'm in radio, and I'm under the weather, and this is not my normal speaking voice, so I apologize.
No.
And I don't want to take too much of your time on wearing my voice, but a couple of points, really, if I may, real quickly.
Real quick.
The whole ideal, I mean, we've known for years about all of this ridiculous waste and fraud and all of this stuff that's finally being exposed, because now we have people both in power and in the public that not only have been woke to the right things, but now they're not afraid to stand up for it. But the bigger point I wanted to emphasize is something seems to be lost in the discussion, unless I'm missing something from some talk show host somewhere, and that is that it seems to me that if President Trump can eliminate all of this ridiculous waste and fraud, that would actually be a long-term benefit to Americans, because it would lower our tax bill. And unless I'm missing something, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that is no small thing. And things have been screwed up for many, many years. It's going to take some time to unscrew it. Inflation cannot come down overnight under these circumstances. But in the long run, with patience and the right procedure, it seems to me that we should be behind this man and what he is doing, because it's going to benefit all of America, whether they realize it or not.
All right, Larry, I'm going to have to leave it right there. But, man, some great thoughts here. People have got some deep they've been doing some deep thinking, some deep observing. Right now, 20 minutes past the hour on the Chris Hand Show. Brian Wilson filling in.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Prepping for another winter storm on top of devastating floods. We've got the very latest at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yeah, there's a lot of rain out in our neck of the woods, a lot of standing water, and now you get used to one thing, and now here comes the snow.
Yep.
Go get your bread, go get your milk, go get your toilet paper, get your TP, get everything you need.
Yes, sir.
When in danger or in doubt, run in circles, scream and shout.
I like how Tennessee is very interesting. Nashville's very interesting because anytime we get like a winter storm warning, it seems like everything is along and north of 40 and along and south of 40. Like 40 is the divider.
Well, I think I-40 is what I like to call right along that rain-snow line.
Yes.
And it can, if you go a little north, it's almost always snow and ice, and if you go a little south, it's almost rain. But I-40 is right on that line where it can go either way, and you get ice.
Yeah.
Which is not good.
No, sir.
No. But you sound like people are getting ready.
Getting ready.
I don't like the back and forth where it's like 55, 60 degrees one day.
Yeah.
And then it's like down in the single digits the next.
Right.
I don't like the back and forth.
Did you find yourself confused during that last warm spell? Because the whole time it's in the 60s and flirting with 70, it looks like it's cold outside.
Yeah.
I'm getting bundled up to go to work, and I step outside, and I'm sweating.
I don't need this. Yeah. I know.
And then here we are this week.
I'll tell you, my trees are confused. My trash trees, the Bradford pears, which I'm looking at my window right now. They got buds on them like they're ready to go. and here comes the snow.
Yeah.
I don't know. The back and forth is the worst part of it. I was talking a moment ago about all this stuff with the changes that are going on. Carville.
Oh, yeah.
Carville's on fire right now. But listen to what he says. He says that, he thinks that, what Democrats need to do right now is nothing. Which is sort of what my suggestion is about the Democrats. Don't do anything. Because quite frankly, it doesn't, when your other side is in chaos and in meltdown mode, then what you do is you do nothing. You stand by and let them flail. Well, he thinks we're flailing. I don't think so at all. But he thinks we are. He says, don't get in the way of what they're doing. Or as we like to say, don't just stand there. Do nothing. Let this germinate. We don't need to get in front of it. The freight train is moving. Remember, this is Carville. The freight train is moving. Let's just get out of the way. And then they're going to have time, in the immortal words of Dalton and Roadhouse, be nice until it's time not to be nice. And that time is coming shortly. He thinks that what we ought to do is the smartest and quickest way out of what we have is to just let it go. And sooner than you think, it's going to come in just one more event. He thinks that we're going to screw it up. And I would say to Carville, who, I always, of all the Democrats, I admire him because he says exactly what he thinks. I think that what's happening with this administration is remarkable. I've never seen such success in such short order and getting things done. And probably it feels like there's a lot more going on than we're used to, because we got used to 4 years of nothing happening, where a president wouldn't speak, wouldn't tell you what he was up to. Now, there was stuff happening, we didn't know about it. Trump is, they're being transparent. I'll give them that. One thing I love about what they're doing is they're saying, yeah, this is what we said we were going to do. This is what we're doing. We're going to crank it. We're going to keep cranking it. And the Democrats, their only reaction, I think basically what Carville's telling them to do is just shut up for a while. Just back off. But they can't help themselves. Their reaction is reflexive. If Trump is for something, no matter whether it makes sense, they're going to be against it. Nobody in their right mind believes it's a bad idea to look through the government and find out if there's fraud, waste, and abuse, except for a handful of Democrats who think it's the worst thing. And somehow they believe that Elon Musk is doing all of this stuff, and that somehow Musk is a threat to our Constitution. Everything that Elon Musk is doing comes from the authority that is granted to him as an employee by the President of the United States. The President of the United States is calling the shots. Elon Musk is an advisor. And he's not personally going through your... The richest man in America doesn't need your money. I just, he absolutely doesn't need it. Neither does Trump. They want you to keep your money. They want the government to be more efficient. They don't want it to be thrown away. What's wrong with that idea? How can you be against that idea? And yet the Democrats are. So what you hear James Carville saying is, hey, you know what? We need to just shut up for a while. See, he believes that the Republicans will mess it up. Somehow they'll do the wrong thing, and it will catch everybody's attention, and then they'll have something that they can seize upon. I don't think that's going to happen, because you know what? The things that are being done right now are good for America, and most Americans get that. The polling on it is very clear. 70% of Americans love the fact that Donald Trump is doing these things. So, sit there and moan and groan all you want. Throw your hands in the air. Bite that lower lip. and just angst all you want to, Democrats, because the American people are with us on this. And the more you do that, the more they're going to walk away from you, which I guess it's fine. But they don't seem to understand it. They don't seem to understand where America is and what the last election was all about. Time for the news with Ken Weaver. On the Chris Hand Show, Brian Wilson filling in.
.11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Winter is coming back. Snow expected to start falling near Clarksville around 5 o'clock this afternoon. It'll be falling in Nashville by 8. Then all of Middle Tennessee after that. We'll tell you about it during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. TDOT says this round of snow could hang around longer than the last one due to the bitter cold that's going to be lingering. Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovac on the effort to get ahead of it and treat the roads.
This is the second day that crews are out treating the roads. The goal is to be done pre-treating by this afternoon. Some of their big super soaker trucks carry up to 4,500 gallons of brine. TDOT says when that's done, trucks will be switching over to plows and salt trucks. Their equipment and crews are ready, but they hope Mother Nature is on their side.
We're hoping for sunny skies after the snow falls, so that can help melt the snow when it hits.
And if we don't get sun, the roads could stay slick for days. Right now, TDOT is asking everyone to stay home if they can. That way they have plenty of room to pre-treat the roads and then clean up the roads as well. And they are on standby to repair potholes.
Meanwhile, Channel 4 says landscaping companies pitching in to help treat some of the areas in neighborhoods that won't be treated by anyone else.
Essentially, we'll be salting driveways and parking lots, just putting down that pre-salt that will keep the ice from sticking to the ground, the concrete driveways. And there are a lot of elderly out there who simply can't get out there and clear their own driveways.
And TEMA says crews are as ready as possible for this incoming storm. They just need you to do your part, they say.
We ask folks to just give yourself time to travel if you have to go somewhere. And if you don't have to be out and about, it's a great time to snuggle in at home with your family and loved ones.
TDOT's been prepping to clear roads since 8 o'clock yesterday morning. And that's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
37 minutes past the hour of 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. You're listening to the Chris Hand Show, but I'm not Chris Hand, not near as good looking. He's down, got the flu, got the bug, got whatever's going around. Boy, that's nasty stuff, isn't it? But he'll be hopefully back tomorrow. Brian Wilson filling in all the way until noon when Chad Benson takes over and carries on ably. And then, after that, it's Matt Murphy. Everybody getting together. Everybody bringing it to you every day right here on Super Talk 99.7. I'm your friend and radio buddy, although the R now stands for friend and retired buddy. And I got to tell you, Ken, by and large, people say, how do you like a retirement? Well, it's been pretty busy. Yeah. I mean, we're doing a renovation of the kitchen. We're doing some other stuff, trying to get, things in order for retirement, which, believe it or not, is a lot of work. Getting your insurance straightened out and your Social Security straightened out and your Medicare straightened out. I've never had to deal with any of that stuff before now. So I've been doing a lot of that stuff.
So you're on the phone for hours then.
Yeah, hours and hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
And so, just trying to, get everything lined out. But the kitchen reno is sort of like, it's a big mess here. And so but I do miss it on occasion.
Mm-hmm.
Something will happen. I say, I'll have some strong opinion about it.
Yep.
And the only person who gets to hear the opinion is my bulldog, Grogu. And she's quite fed up with it, actually. She looks at me and she's like, oh, really? We got to hear about this again? Something. I tell you, but I'm having a good time with it. Getting ready to do some traveling when it gets a little warmer.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm done with winter. I'm done.
I got me one of them vans.
Oh yeah?
Did I tell you about my van?
No.
No. See, I ordered a van. It's like one of these Sprint vans.
Mm-hmm.
This one is it's a Ram on a Ram truck base.
Nice.
It's the same. Think of if you see the Ram trucks that the people with Amazon drive.
Yeah.
Well, it's that same vehicle, but it's built into a little sort of in the back. There's a bed and there's a microwave and there's even a place, I'm not making this up,
mm-hmm.
where you can go and sit on the toilet and take a shower at the same time.
It's like a little tiny house on wheels.
That's right. You can get empty and get clean all at the same time. And let me just say, I won't go into all of the details about this.
Sure.
But I bought one, and they said, hey, it's got lithium batteries and solar technology. And you know what? That damn thing hasn't worked a day. So I called him up and I said, look, I've had this thing now for 2.5, 3 months, and it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
I can't get it to work. And so they bought that one back and sent me one that runs on gasoline.
Yes, sir.
Fossil fuel.
Yep.
So it's going to be arriving here in the next day or so.
All right. Now, the one you have, does it like turn into like, can you like bring a canopy out?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's got a little canopy that extends automatically.
Yeah.
And you got a little screen on the sliding glass door so that you can open it up and the bugs can't get in.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that.
All right, buddy.
Yeah. Have motorhome, and I tell everybody says, hey, when are you going to come see me? I say, I'm just going to show up on your doorstep looking for a sandwich, man.
Exactly.
Hey, can you give me a knock, knock, knock? Hey, you got a sandwich? I'm hungry.
I'm here.
I'm here. You thought it wouldn't happen.
Oh.
The thing that's really fun to watch is how much changes have made at the border. Isn't it? We told you all this.
Yeah.
I mean, we were right about this. We told you that if you let Donald Trump be president, in a matter of hours, the situation on the border will get better. And that is literally true. The number of illegal immigrants apprehended attempting to enter the United States from Mexico in January dropped off sharply as the second Trump administration implements a crackdown. From January 21 through January 31, the first 10 days in office, The number of U.S. Border Patrol apprehensions dropped 85% in that period. 85%. CBP attributed the decline to it's no longer catching and releasing illegal aliens into the United States. It's leveraging legal authorities to take every reasonable step to ensure illegal aliens are placed in detention and expediently removed from the country. In simple terms, illegal aliens are being arrested, detained, and rapidly removed. We told you this would happen. Promises made, promises delivered. And the Democrats are losing their mind. All they can talk about is Elon Musk this and Elon Musk that, and he's digging around in your personal information. You don't want this billionaire digging around in your personal information. What a bunch of hooey that is. It's an absolute... That's what it is. Still have those buttons, and I'm not afraid to use them.
Absolutely.
White House says Elon Musk is not part of Doge. And, you know, and you need to understand that. This is a very unusual thing. A president of the United States can ask for advisors to advise him. But ultimately, the authority to do anything comes from not Elon Musk, but from Donald Trump. He is the person who grants the authority to do the things that Elon Musk, all Elon Musk is doing, he's coming and looking over everybody's shoulder and going, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why are we doing that? Well, that didn't make any sense. Why are we doing that? He's got people who are employees of Doge, but he's not an employee. He's an advisor to the president. The authority to dig around in these numbers is not granted to Elon Musk. It is granted to employees by the president of the United States, given he's the president. He's in charge of the executive branch. Here's what they're saying. Musk is an employee of the White House office. I guess he got one of them $1 contracts. Serves as senior advisor to the president. President's allowed to have any senior advisor he wants. It doesn't have to go through confirmation process. These are people who advise the president. Been done time immemorial. The Tesla and SpaceX CEO is not an employee of the U.S. Doge Service or the U.S. Doge Service Temporary Organization, both of which are separate from the White House office. He is also not a Doge Service Administrator, the position that leads Doge, as laid out in President Trump's executive order last month establishing the service. In his role as a senior advisor to the president, Mr. Musk has no greater authority than other senior White House advisors. Like other senior White House advisors, Mr. Musk has no actual or formal authority to make government decisions himself. Mr. Musk can only advise the president and then communicate the president's directives. He's got the ear of the president. And the power that any power that Elon Musk has emanates from the executive of the executive branch, the president of the United States. This is no different than Anita Dunn, who served as a senior advisor to former President Biden. He's just a guy who comes in and takes a look at things. And just that Democrats are whining about Elon Musk, this and that and the other. And they're trying to frighten the American people. Say, oh, they're going to get into your Social Security. Oh, they're going to get into your Medicare. Oh, they're going to mess with this, that, and the other. Not true. You go right ahead, Democrats, and attack Elon Musk and what they're doing at Doge. But you will be attacking something that is remarkably popular with the American people. The American people are loving this. When you see a president's favorability ratings go up inside of 1 week 5 points, unheard of. Why is it going up? Because people are looking at this president and they know what they got. They know who Donald Trump is. They know that, he's occasionally he, gets off and says crazy things and makes everybody wonder what he's really up to. American people know that. They voted for him, and they elected him to come in here and try to do something to make our government more efficient, more effective. And they love it. So knock yourself out, Democrats. Keep doing what you're doing because it's not going to work. And you can attack Elon Musk as much as you want to. But Elon Musk is doing a service to this country. He's a patriot. He's doing a great service to this country by pointing out things. They've already found $55 billion. $55 billion with a B. That's some real money. That's how much they found in waste, fraud, and abuse. And they're just getting started. And the only reason that the Democrats are screaming like bloody murder is because all the people who were the beneficiaries of that waste, fraud, and abuse, they're screaming, hey, look what they're doing. They're taking away the money that you got me. So you can't, if you're a Democrat and the people who who support you are yelling, you have to yell too. But knock yourself out because I'm telling you, it just shows the American people how far out of touch you are with reality. How far out of touch things had gotten during the Biden years. So remember, Musk is not a Doge employee. He is an advisor to the president. He comes in, he says, Mr. President, I've been talking to my Doge people over here, and here's what they have found. Here's what we suggest. Would you like to go forward with that? And it is the president's decision that grants them the authority to do these things. The president of the United States, powerful position. How great is it, though? How great is it that we now have a Republican president, a Republican-controlled Senate, and a Republican-controlled House, 6 conservatives in the Supreme Court, and more conservative governors in the state and around the country than we've ever had in a long time. And it's driving the Democrats mad. They did it to themselves. It's all their fault. So go ahead and continue to complain. Complain about Elon Musk, Democrats. Knock yourself out. On the other hand, I think the vast majority of Americans are going to be applauding what Elon Musk is doing. They're going to be applauding what Donald Trump is doing. Because you know what? It's exactly what they said they were going to do when they voted for him. He is getting it done in a huge, huge way. It is time for a commercial break now on Super Talk 99.7. 50 minutes now past the hour. Brian Wilson filling in for the ailing Chris Hand. It's 54 minutes now past the hour of 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Very quickly, a U.S. Appeals Court on Tuesday blocked the Biden administration student loan relief plan known as SAVE, a move that will, they say, lead to higher monthly payments for millions of borrowers. No, they're going to actually pay back the loan that they took out. What was it about loan that you didn't understand, college graduates? Anyway, Chad Benson is standing by. He'll take over at the top of the hour.
What's happening, my man? How you doing out there?
I'm doing all right. I have yet to come up with a good nickname for you.
We'll come up with something.
Well, I know. Everybody I know has a nickname.
Really? What's Matt?
I think I'll just call you Chadley.
Chadley's good. What's Matt? What's Matt's nickname?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know his nickname?
There's just no real way to encapsulate everything that Matt Murphy is into a sort of a nickname. Just can't be done.
You're correct about that.
He's just too big a human being.
So
what do you got? What do you got on tap here today as we begin to hand things over?
We'll have some fun with Doge because it's always fun. It's actually more the reaction to Doge that's hilarious. The fun is
it is fun to watch, isn't it?
Well, look, he's doing what you said, and I've even had several people who are conservatives. Well, it's going a little too fast, and this is what I say. You guys bitch when it doesn't go. When it starts to go, you freak out about it because you don't want change, but you want it to change. You just don't want it to change too fast. And all of this stuff, and you know this, Brian's better than anybody, he's throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall. The courts are going to sort 90% of this stuff out.
Well, it takes a while, as we just saw today.
Yeah.
I mean, with this appeal court decision about Biden and student loans.
Yeah, so
it just takes a while. That's one thing I will say about the Democrats that they're pretty good at is that they don't waste a lot of time going to the courts.
No.
And they're not afraid to do it. And, sometimes, it's like it's a desperate appeal. Sometimes it works out for them. Sometimes it doesn't. I think Republicans are a little slow to go down that route.
Well, I think they would like to think that you're not going to do some of these things. Plus, in the federal courts, the Democrats have more to choose from in the lower courts. So it's easier for them where we're going to file. And it's like 4 or 5 states. It's Texas, right? Tennessee has done it on several occasions. Depending on who's in charge in Arizona and Florida, they'll do some of that stuff. But in reality, the courts are going to sort so much of this out. So people who think they're fired today may not be fired. People who think they're safe may not be safe. We don't know until it gets to that decision maker and either gets to the Supreme Court or doesn't get to the Supreme Court.
But there is a feeling among the American people that, finally, they're looking at the government the way I have to do my business or I have to run my household.
Oh, totally.
And I think people really like that.
I was listening to a woman yesterday. She goes, I'm a civil servant. I'm like, you make, on average, $95,000 a year with about another $50,000 in all kinds of other things to go with it, from insurance, medical insurance, retirement, the whole 9 yards. The average person in America is making $60,000, if that. And you act like you should get an award and a trophy. How many people were laid off today from Southwest? 1,700. I don't see the Democrats over there. I don't see them over there throwing a giant fit going, we got to get these people back to Southwest. We got to do this. Because they have to run their business based on dollars and cents, not based on what I can print and kick down the road.
You're exactly right. And I think the American people are looking at this and they're going, man, isn't this shocking? It's shocking to Americans.
Yeah.
That we have a government, somebody in charge of our government who's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. What a concept.
Well, like I said, I think it scares some Republicans as well, and some people who are for it.
Yeah.
But they, and you know this, man. Change scares people.
People don't like change.
Like look at you, right? You changed, and what'd you do? You bought a giant van, right? Like that's a weird thing to do. Like you're holding on to your youth, like you're going to start a rock band and travel around the country.
Not that kind of van. There's no shag carpet in this van.
Oh, it's not the stabbing cabin, is what you're saying.
That's right. No, it's. I'm going to be traveling around the country in a van.
Where are you going to be heading?
Well, I mean, I have. I said that when I retired, one of the things that I was going to do was I was going to go around the country when the weather got a little better. You don't want to be driving through the snow and the ice and all that stuff. But when the weather got better, I was going to travel around the country and see people who've been very important to me in my life, and just let them know that.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to be traveling. I got to make a trip up to Indiana. Got to make a trip or two down to Texas. So just, to go around and just, like I said, I'm going to show up on people's doorsteps and say, hey, can I have a sandwich?
I would totally do that.
Just knock on the door and say, hey, I need a sandwich. Have you got a sandwich?
That's a great idea. See, that's a beautiful thing. And how much, so many people in America have never seen America. They want to go all these other places, but they've never seen America. And until you see America, man, you should take a deep breath before you fly off somewhere else. Not that other places aren't great, but America has got so many amazing things.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for me. Thank you for letting me fill in here on short notice for Chris Hand. As far as I know, he'll be back tomorrow. Chad Benson is up next. Time for the news with Ken Weaver at noon o'clock.